On we go. Let's talk auto racing here, John.
Yeah, I mean, I love it when you talk auto racing. I remember back in the day when you were on 690 and you would say, Talladega, it'll rip your head off, So let's break this news. This is Southern California news here.
NASCAR runs this weekend Fontana if the weatherman does not intercede. This is the final race at the 2-mile track built in Fontana out in the desert. I've been to that track, a spectacular facility. When they first opened 20 years ago, they were drawing 100,000 fans on Sunday for the NASCAR race. The Winston Cup race, 5 wide and all that. But the novelty wore off, and they are closing the track after this weekend. They're going to rebuild the track. They're going to take it from a 2-mile track, second biggest one aside from Daytona and Talladega, and they're going to make it a half-mile track. It's going to be a massive reconstruction project to tear it down and build it back up. NASCAR's not committed to bring that race back to Fontana. They're taking 2024 off. They'll start knocking the bricks down this spring and into the summer. And they won't race there in 23, won't race there in 24, but there's no commitment that there'll be a race there in 25. On top of that complication is NASCAR went in and they put the race at the Coliseum, the Clash at the Coliseum a couple weeks ago. And the first race they ran 2 years ago was kind of really novel. It was really interesting. It drew big crowds. People liked it. This past race, it was like bumper cars. And it had all 16 cautions. And all these cars got knocked out and wrecked. And it wasn't really racing. The whole night was under the yellow flag. So now there's huge questions. The drivers called it a disaster. Huge questions as to whether they're even going to bring that race back for another Clash at the Coliseum. So it's weird. NASCAR racing has a history here. Ontario Speedway, Riverside Speedway, heck, even in San Diego, we had Cajon Speedway. And they were well attended, but the tracks went out of business because the cost of operation and the land and all that was too steep. We might be without NASCAR racing going forward after we get to the checkered flag on Sunday against Fontana, because nobody knows whether the LA market wants NASCAR any longer, and NASCAR hasn't quite figured out what it should be out here any longer. And that's sad, considering how many people live not just in LA and Orange County and San Diego, but Inland Empire. And all the tracks, all the speedways are going away.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the real estate's so expensive, and the people that own the real estate can make it housing and do a lot better financially. That's why I'm surprised that these courses in Ontario and Fontana have stuck around. Now, what's interesting for me is I know as a kid when I started learning about auto racing, of course, it was always the Indy 500. And there was NASCAR, but that was sort of in the southeast United States. Now it's gone more national. But, is Southern California really going to embrace racing? People here are from somewhere else, but still, it's a little bit of that Southern culture. Does that mix with West Coast lifestyle? I don't know. Is it a good fit?
We got West Coast drivers. Where's Jeff Gordon from? Where's Jimmy Johnson from? Period, exclamation point. I'll tell you what's out there on the horizon, and I don't know if this is just an in thing for today, what the future might be down the road. Formula One is coming here. They got 3 races in the States now.
Yeah, there you go.
And Formula One used to be Euros. Now they're a global sport. Hell, they're racing in China of all places, and obviously they run in South America and Canada, and they got 3 races here in the States. And the next big event is F1 next year. It goes to Vegas, street race. Going to be unbelievable, unbelievably expensive, and they think they're going to make a lot of money. Will that be a one-time thing? Yeah, I watched it. I was there. That was really cool. I'm not going back. It costs too much. Go to Vegas and everything else. Fascinating to see. But F1 now seems to have grabbed the global attention of a lot more people. And lost on the horizon is IndyCar racing. Outside of the month of May in the Indy 500, nobody, and I'm a race guy, nobody pays attention to IndyCar racing the rest of the schedule. It's like it's kind of fallen off the radar, or at least in the pecking order. It's like now third to F1 and to NASCAR. Now, you live in the Carolinas, so all you care about is the good old boys from Alabama and the Alabama gang and Richard Petty and all those guys. You're a big NASCAR fan. You can't wait. But the rest of the country, I think, is starting to waver in terms of how big is NASCAR now compared to what it used to be. And Here comes F1.
Yeah, I think the F1 idea is really smart. I mean, because as the globe becomes smaller, you know, a lot of these European sports are blending in America, like soccer. And then they've done such a good job putting up some of these new series on Netflix. I mean, my wife is now an F1 fan, you know, because she watched that series. So, yeah, that maybe they just need to kind of leapfrog in Southern California, leapfrog NASCAR and go to where the future is. That's not a bad idea.
And a fascinating part is Michael Andretti is negotiating with Cadillac to build an F1 team. I mean, there's only one American-based team running over there. It's the Haas F1 team. They've not had great success. Michael Andretti is the second one in modern-day racing, putting together a consortium with Cadillac that they want to be in F1 racing by 2025. Now, it costs a ton of money to join that fraternity and a ton of money to do the research and development and testing. So it's going to be interesting to see where F1 goes. Okay.